They thought it was a cargo ship, big, slow, and ripe for the taking. Two skiffs packed with armed Somali pirates cut through the waves at full throttle, engines screaming across the dark waters of the Gulf of Aden. Their target, a massive silhouette on the horizon. No flag, no lights, just steel and silence. In pirate logic, that usually means unescorted freight. Wrong. In less than 90 seconds, that silhouette revealed itself for what it really was. A floating war fortress. Not just a US Navy ship, but a full-blown nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. You know, the kind that launches warplanes before breakfast and carries more firepower than most countries. The pirates, they had AKs and RPGs. The carrier, it had 5,000 sailors, Sea Whiz cannons, radar-guided missile systems, and a zero-patience policy for threats. What happened next wasn't a standoff. It wasn't even a fight. It was a lesson. One that started with a warning and ended with weapons drawn and pirates face down on a rigid hull inflatable boat, or RAHIB. Because this is what happens when you pick the wrong ship. This is what happens when you try to hit a US Navy aircraft carrier. And this was a big mistake. The radar spotted them first. Two fast-moving blips, low signature, no AIS signal, approaching at speed. Inside the Combat Information Center of the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, the system lit up. The operator called it out without hesitation. Contacts. Two small craft bearing 085. Closing. In the Red Sea. That only means one thing. Trouble on the water. The officer on the deck didn't need a second opinion. He leaned into comms. Bridge CIC notify flight deck launch Seahawk now. Outside, the carrier was already awake. This wasn't a sleepy convoy. This was a full strike group on patrol, and the carrier was its nerve center. In less than 2 minutes, an MH-60R Seahawk spun its rotors and roared off the deck. Loaded with a door gunner, radar systems, and eyes sharp enough to ID a tattoo at 5,000 feet. It angled straight toward the incoming threat. Meanwhile, sailors on the flight deck had paused for exactly 0 seconds. Yellow shirts cleared space, red shirts checked weapons loads, green shirts waved clearance for another bird on standby. And the CIC, a second contact. Skiffs are splitting. One's pulling apart, one's still heading straight for us. Textbook pirate tactic, divide and confuse. The captain gave a simple command. Maintain course, let them commit. Up in the air, the Seahawk had visual. The pilot called it in. Hostile posture. Repeat. Visible armament. That's all the Navy needed. Because while most pirate encounters get the benefit of the doubt, this one had already crossed the line. A second Seahawk was launched. Our HIV teams on the nearby destroyer USS Gravely geared up. On deck, Sial spun quietly into standby. The whole ship was calm, focused, and fast. But make no mistake, they were not waiting to be attacked. Because on a US aircraft carrier, hesitation isn't protocol. It's a liability. And the pirates, they had no idea what they were walking or sailing into. From their view, it was still just a big ship on the water. From the Navy's view, it was two threats closing in fast, and everything was in motion. The pirates didn't know it yet, but the warning shot was already locked and loaded. The skiff on the right kept coming. No course change, no speed drop, just blind confidence. Or should I say, blind stupidity. At 800 yards, the Seahawk dropped altitude. Its side gunner swung the M240 into position. No firing yet, just posture. A not-so-subtle way of saying, you're in the wrong neighborhood, buddy. But the pirates didn't flinch. One of them even stood up, holding something long and metallic over his shoulder. RPG. That was it. Hostile confirmed. The Seahawk radioed. Weapons in hand. Continuing intercept. Back on the Eisenhower. The captain didn't even blink. From the port side of the destroyer, 211 MRBs hit the water packed with Navy Visit Board Search and Seizure, or VBSS teams, body armor, M4S, flashbangs. These weren't diplomats. These were floating SWAT teams with a license to act fast and hit hard. The carrier itself didn't need to fire a single round. That's what the task force was for. But if things escalated, so turrets were already humming quietly, radar tracking the skiff like a hawk staring at a mouse in an open field. Meanwhile, the Gravely moved into flanking position. It was like watching chess at 35 knots. One skiff trying to fake out two warships and a helicopter. Not exactly a winning strategy. Overhead, the Seahawk's gunner gave a final visual warning. He fired a burst across the water just in front of the skiff's bow. The message was crystal clear. Turn around or go down. This time, the pirates reacted. Too late. The RHIB was already on them. Engines roaring, cutting across the surf like a scalpel blade. The first VBSS team boxed in the skiff from starboard, while the second team blocked retreat from the rear. Over the loudspeaker, they yelled, "Lay down your weapons! Hands up! Do it now!" Confusion, panic. One pirate tossed his AK into the water. Another froze, eyes wide. Smart choice. The ones that didn't, well, let's just say that the Navy doesn't wait long for a group vote here. In less than 30 seconds, it was over. Weapons confiscated, pirates zip-tied, and laying on the deck of the Orib. Skiff towed, scene secured, and the Eisenhower never stopped moving, not even slowed down a little bit. Because aircraft carriers don't need to handle every threat themselves. They bring an entourage that bites back harder. And the pirates? Yeah, they finally realized it. They hadn't just picked the wrong ship, they picked the wrong ocean. And now it was time to explain to the pirates what they almost messed with. The pirates were zip-tied, disarmed, and staring at deck boots. But the Navy wasn't done yet. See, when you make a move on a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, even a dumb one, they don't just neutralize you. They investigate, document, and send a message, because tomorrow's threat might have night vision, not just knockoff AKs. So, while the VBSS teams hauled the suspects aboard the Gravely, a second Seahawk flew a perimeter loop. They weren't just babysitting, they were scanning thermal signatures, hull markings, even checking if that skiff had tech inside. GPS, satones, encrypted radios. Any hint that this was more than just a bunch of amateurs. And yeah, turns out it wasn't just some slapdash pirate crew. Back on the Eisenhower, the mood's still business. The carrier hadn't even broken formation, hadn't missed a single sortie on its flight op. The catapults were still launching FA-18 Super Hornets into the sky. The deck crew hadn't even blinked. You wouldn't even know an intercept had happened unless you looked at the radar logs. That's the thing about carriers. They don't flinch because while pirates are out here chasing money with leaky motors and RPGs, the U.S. Navy is running 100,000-ton nuclear-powered fortresses capable of launching jets every 30 seconds and directing regional security across half the globe. You think pirates scare that? Try again. And here's the kicker. The second skiff, remember that one? The one that veered off early? That one didn't get away either. A drone picked it up about 6 nautical miles out, idling near a fishing vessel that looked a little too clean to be hauling tuna. Minutes later, that vessel was sworn by a different RHIB team from the USS Mason, another destroyer in the strike group. Result? 2 more pirates detained, 1 laptop seized, and a whole bunch of questions that'll be answered in a classified tent somewhere in Djibouti. What started as a simple intercept had just peeled back a much bigger layer. But here's the funny part. The original pirate crew still thought that they'd attacked a cargo ship, right up until a U.S. Marine leaned over and said, "You know you pulled up on an aircraft carrier, right?" Silent. Then one of them muttered something under his breath. Nobody translated it officially, but if we had to guess, probably something like "big mistake." Do you want to support our mission? Join the fleet. Get loyalty badges, priority replies, and help bring real stories from the sea to the surface. Go to our channel page, click join, and step aboard. Now, back to the story. So, let's be clear here for anyone still wondering why a carrier is the worst target imaginable. Here's what makes it untouchable. Attacking a U.S. aircraft carrier is like bringing a butter knife to a tank fight. Except the tank is floating, launching fighter jets, and has its own zip code. Literally, the pirates thought they were chasing a lonely cargo ship. What they actually found was the most heavily protected vessel on any ocean anywhere ever. Let's break it down here. First off, an aircraft carrier is never alone. Never ever. If you're just pulling up on a flat deck, you're pulling up on a carrier strike group. A tight formation of destroyers, cruisers, submarines, supply ships, helicopters, drones, and a sky full of fighter jets. It's basically a floating war city with a no stupid questions policy. Take the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, for example, nuclear-powered. Over 1,000 feet long, houses nearly 5,000 personnel, capable of launching fully armed FA-18s every 25 seconds. And that's just what's on top. Below deck, multiple hangar base, maintenance shops, weapon storage, radar control rooms, intelligence centers, and, oh yeah, its own internal police force. Every inch of the ship is watched, logged, and defended. Now let's talk about weapons. You've got CIWS, Close-In Weapon Systems, aka the CIWS, which spits out 4,500 rounds per minute. Think of it as a laser-G-guided meat grinder that doesn't ask permission. Then there's the ESSM, Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, anti-air, anti-missile, you name it. fast, accurate, brutal. And that's not even counting the MH-60R Hawk helicopters, EA-18G Growlers for jamming, or E-2D Hawkeye radar birds that can see further than most nations even can. You don't sneak up on a carrier. You don't surprise a carrier. You get flagged, tracked, locked, and lit up before your engines even hit full throttle. And here's the wild part. They didn't even use a tenth of what they had. The Navy could have launched drones, fired warning flares, scrambled jets, deployed Marine detachments, or if it got bad enough, authorized lethal force within seconds. But they didn't need to, because the threat was so far beneath their response capabilities, it was almost funny. Almost. Here's a stat for perspective. A single carrier strike group can control airspace the size of Texas. That means from hundreds of miles out, they know who you are, where you're going, and what you're carrying. If they let you get close, it's because they want to see what you'll do next. And if what you do next looks even slightly hostile, game over. So yeah, trying to pirate a US carrier. That's not just reckless, that's asking to be tackled by an entire team when you're holding a Nerf gun. And the Navy wasn't done yet, because every piece of gear, every radio signal, every loose detail was now intel gold. Neutralizing the threat is only step one. Step two, exploiting every mistake the enemy made. So, while the pirates were zip-tied and silently re-evaluating their life choices in a steel room below deck, the Navy's intel teams were already dissecting the entire encounter. That RPG launcher bagged and scanned for origin. The busted sat phone stripped and dumped into a secure signal analyzer. Every coordinate logged by the Seahawk sensors, mapped and cross-referenced with smuggler route, Iranian weapons flow, and pirate cell movement from Mogadishu to Mukalla. Because the Navy doesn't just deal with pirates, they study them hard. And this skiff, it was practically a floating intel brief. In the command spaces of the USS Eisenhower, analysts were combing through everything. Thermal footage, radio intercepts, power signatures, hull materials, even the damn fuel cans got sampled. One strange frequency, though, caught their attention. It matched chatter previously intercepted near an illegal arms shipment from Eritrea. Bingo! Now, it wasn't just a random pirate raid, it was part of a network, which meant the follow-up wouldn't be just an after-action report. It would be a real-time targeting package. In under 12 hours, that data was already flying up the chain. CENTCOM, ARICOM, coalition partners, intelligence fusion centers in Bahrain and Djibouti. The whole machine moved fast because the next raid might not be with RPGs. Maybe it's drones next time, or smuggled manpads, or worse, pirates unknowingly acting as bait for a deeper hidden threat. That's the mindset. Every small contact is treated like a probe, a test, a potential distraction, or a prelude. So the Navy doesn't just swat flies, it builds a map of the entire swarm. Oh, and for those pirates, they were just the first ripple. The real wave was already moving beneath the surface. Intel teams syncing data, drones shifting search grids, strike planners whispering the three most dangerous words in the US Navy's vocabulary. Target package confirmed. The ocean was quiet again, but it wouldn't stay that way. The Navy was watching, and now so was everyone else. By sunrise, the ocean was calm again. The Eisenhower hadn't missed a beat. Flight ops resumed. Coffee was brewed. Jets were launched. Another day aboard the most lethal ship afloat. But beneath that calm surface, things had changed. What started as a sloppy ambush attempted had triggered a multi-branch intel sweep across the region. Satellites repositioned, comms traffic flagged, even Allied ships in the corridor were briefed. Because the message wasn't just for the pirates, it was for anyone watching, anyone planning, anyone foolish enough to think that a US aircraft carrier is an easy target. This was a silent broadcast written in precision, speed, and overwhelming force. We saw you, we stopped you, we learned from you, and next time you won't even get the chance. Back in the skiff's wake, the Navy's message rippled through the region. Smuggler chatter dropped. Suspicious radio bursts went dark. And for a few tense days, even the sea lanes near Somalia held their breath. Because when the US Navy responds, they don't post a warning. They just make an example. If you were commanding the carrier, what would you have done differently? Would you have taken them alive or sink the skiff on site? Let us know in the comments. And if you thought this breakdown was wild, intense, or straight up unbelievable, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss what's coming next. Because in waters like these, you never know what's coming next. If you want to go one step further and support the channel directly, join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority replies, and help us bring more real naval stories to the surface. Click join on our channel page and step aboard. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay safe.